to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
It is a Wednesday, and it is Locked In here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Thanks for tuning in with us on this fine Wednesday afternoon, which predates the snowpocalypse that we're apparently in for over the next several days. I'll hopefully miss it, because I'm going to be down in San Antonio at the Navy All-American Bowl for the next few days. But, yes, we're expecting a great deal of snow, allegedly. I'll tell you this, Grayson. My beef with Oklahoma meteorologists, many of whom I know and are good people, and not necessarily saying they're incompetent or that they do a bad job or they try to sell doom, but they get out a little over their skis with severe weather forecasts at times.
Do you blame them?
Do I blame them? What do you mean by that?
I mean, when you say over your skis, do you mean like in terms of a fear factor or in terms of sometimes they're dealing in hyperbole?
Sometimes things that are supposed to happen, well, a lot of times things that are supposed to happen don't happen.
Okay, so growing up in Texas, this is a very common occurrence. So that doesn't really faze. I'm to the point when it comes to severe weather, if it happens, it happens. Now, shout out to our friends over in L.A. because that's some severe weather going on over there. But when it comes to snow or tornadoes, if it happens, it happens. I'll figure it out.
Let me know if there's a tornado. And generally, the meteorologists are very, very good about this. I'm partial to David Payne. He is the GOAT, in my opinion, at least for the 7 going on 8 years that I have lived in the Sooner State. Anytime there's the threat of a tornado, I have David Payne on my TV. He is the best in the business. But many fine meteorologists out there. I will say, though, I'm hesitant to believe that we're going to see as much snow as we're supposed to see here over the next couple of days until it actually hits the ground. Speaking of which, 5-star Gunny of Stutzman already brings up the fact on the text line that California is on fire right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't count as severe weather by technicality.
Yeah, that's not, well.
Does a wildfire count as a natural disaster?
It depends on what you consider. Like, I guess it depends on your perception of the word natural.
Natural, yeah.
Because, for instance, how did the fire start? You know, did it start by natural means or unnatural means? Drake is saying natural means. Drake is staring at me through the window saying the fire started organically. So I guess technically you'd categorize that as a natural disaster? I don't know. But yeah, California's on fire.
A lot of it.
Seems to happen a lot. A listener in the 405 said, David Payne is the one who freaks out the most. I don't care.
Jim in Arlington, Tornado Payne is not the GOAT. Gary England is the GOAT.
Listen.
I'm not familiar enough with Oklahoma meteorology to have an opinion on that one.
For me, David Payne always gives me the most entertaining severe weather coverage. And that's what it's got to be. Like, if you're going to sit there, and anytime you have the threat of a tornado, you're going to be sitting there watching TV for 3-4 hours, if not longer. there's got to be some entertainment value to the whole presentation.
See,
give me David Payne.
This is the difference between you and me, Parker. Growing up with all these tornadoes, I just play it by ear. I don't know why, but I've just become so callous to tornadoes that I don't even turn the weather on. It's just like if I hear the sirens go off, I'll act. I'm not just going to stare at the TV for long periods of time like I do on election night.
Election night.
Those are two different things.
That's about the only time I'm watching the news.
Exactly.
It's on election night or if there's severe weather. We've spent the first 5 minutes of the show talking about tornadoes. Let's get this show on track, shall we? That UPS guy on the text line asks, are we possibly getting another linebacker from Okie Light? Possibly. You sure are.
Yep.
Jeff Roberson, 6'2", 225 pounds, sixth-year senior to be from Choctaw, Oklahoma, 58 tackles, 3 sacks, and an interception this past year for the 3-9 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma has offered. They hosted him on a visit yesterday. And currently they are battling Arizona and Minnesota for his services. I believe he visits Minnesota today, Arizona tomorrow, if I recall correctly. I was in touch with Roberson's agent earlier today, and I can't remember what order those 2 visits are in, but those are the 2 visits that he's taking, Arizona, Minnesota, before making a final decision. On paper, that's a battle that Oklahoma should win, Grayson. You shouldn't lose a portal battle to Minnesota or Arizona.
Especially with a guy that's from Choctaw.
Uh-huh. Got the hometown advantage. Got the Brent Venables advantage. Got a very compelling pitch to any portal linebacker, especially a guy that can factor in prominently on special teams like Jeff Roberson can. This is a battle that Oklahoma should win. But obviously nothing's a given because they didn't slam the door. They didn't get things done while he was on campus yesterday, which tells you the door is at the very least open for the Golden Gophers and the Wildcats of Arizona.
I've been to Arizona, and I will tell you this. If there's one thing that Arizona may have over Oklahoma, that's also a pretty damn good place to play college football, or at least go to college in general.
Have you been to Tucson specifically?
I've not been to Tucson specifically.
I got family in Tucson.
Do you really?
Good place.
It is. Arizona's just a really fun, one of my favorite places I've ever gone to for work.
You went there for work?
I went to the Fiesta Bowl, 2020, whatever year Oklahoma State was in.
Oh, yeah, 2021.
21, against Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame choked that game away, right?
They absolutely choked that game away. There was no reason in hell Oklahoma State should have won that game.
That was Marcus Freeman's first game as a head coach?
That was.
Yep. I remember that. Big Rich in OKC asks, Roberson like to row a boat? Well, I guess we'll find out when he gets up to Minnesota. But, I mean, the only reason you lose a battle like that is NIL.
Of course.
That's the only reason you would. If Minnesota and or Arizona is willing to pay above and beyond what Oklahoma thinks a guy like Jeff Roberson is worth. There is no reason, save for that one, why this should go haywire for Oklahoma. He's a Choctaw kid. He's a half hour from home at the University of Oklahoma. He would be on full scholarship. In a sense, he gets to follow in the footsteps of his older brother, Logan Roberson, who played offensive line at Oklahoma. So we will know within the next few days whether Jeff Roberson is going to be a Sooner. But when you hear that OU's doing battle with Arizona and Minnesota, it's completely understandable to conclude that, all right, they're getting that kid. He's going to be wearing the crimson cream.
The only football reason that this can go south for Oklahoma, and I don't know the linebacker situation at Arizona or Minnesota, but what if that's a more favorable spot for him to start? Because he is coming off a year, we do have to recognize this, he was a starter for Oklahoma State this year.
And would he start for Oklahoma? Probably
No.
not.
I can't see.
Probably not.
Barring injury, I can't see that scenario. But at Arizona and Minnesota, both who are coming off of, pretty dismal years, especially Arizona, there might be a hole for him to fill.
Frisco Sooner on the text line says, and that's what's wrong with college football. Jeff Roberson has an agent. Listen, you're preaching to the choir here, Frisco Sooner. I hate the fact that everybody has an agent these days. It has made life so much more complicated. And shout out to all the agents like Jeff Roberson's who are easy to touch base with and get a hold of and will give you the truth of the matter rather than trying to run you down a rabbit hole, give you the runaround on what's actually happening with their quote-unquote client, if you can call it that. I dislike that aspect of the NIL era. I dislike the fact that now everybody has an agent. It just adds another layer of complexity to everything that we're already trying to sift through, which can already be so much, right? So much goes into covering recruiting and the portal, and then you throw agents into the mix. Oh, it can all be very chaotic. Dan in Madison, Mississippi says, a sixth-year senior that isn't going to the NFL, you could lose any playing time as well. You could lose any playing time? Huh. I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at there.
Explain that one, Dan.
Yeah. Follow up. Let us know what you mean. Byron in the 918 says, how has the progression of Wyatt Gilmore been? Haven't really heard much about him. Wyatt Gilmore redshirted this past year as a true freshman. Obviously, he's a former four-star prospect at defensive end from the state of Minnesota. He was the first Minnesota Sooner in like 60 years. First Minnesotan to sign with the Sooners since the 60s, I do believe. But I know within the program, they're high on him. They think he's going to be a player. They think he's going to add some value as soon as 2025. It's a deep defensive end room right now, especially with the addition of Marvin Jones. But Wyatt Gilmore is one heck of a football player with one heck of a motor. And if you watch his high school tape, that's what stands out, man. He plays angry. And that's what you love to see from your defensive ends in particular. That was the most conspicuous thing about our Mason Thomas's high school tape, right? At that point, he was 6'1", maybe 6'2", about 210 pounds. But he played angry. Really angry. Greg from Blanchard said Wyatt Gilmore had good tight end film from high school. Well, there you go. Wyatt Gilmore to tight end. Start the campaign. Dan and Madison followed up and said, lose him to playing time. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. A sixth-year senior that isn't going to the NFL, you could lose him to playing time.
And I think that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
If he was to go to Arizona or Minnesota, there might be an avenue for more playing time. Yeah.
A 918 listener says, word on the street is the two players from Oklahoma State are lazy and take plays off. Is this true? You tell us, Grayson Singleton, being the former Poke that you are.
So there is film to suggest that you can throw that label onto Kendall Daniels.
Ooh.
However, let me put this caveat to it. Oklahoma State's season went down the you-know-what so fast. And there's so much weird stuff going on in that building that would take me eons to explain in Stillwater. So did Kendall kind of check out? You could surmise that.
Okay.
I do not think that's going to be an issue that makes its way down to Norman. I just don't. Now, in the case of Jeff Robertson is a guy, Robertson, I don't really know how we pronounce his name, but he's a guy that continued to play hard the entire year. So he's definitely not one of those guys that you're going to think of as, oh, he quit on the team or he might be lazy or something. He's not. That is one of his better intangibles, that he's going to play hard down in and down out. I really don't think you got to worry about it with either, to be quite honest with you.
Tell me you're talking up a white linebacker without telling me you're talking up a white linebacker.
Parker, we are getting too comfortable with each other now. I like where this is going.
No co-Sooner on the text line says, Arizona co-ed game is elite. That's one thing Arizona and Arizona State both have to sell.
Do they really?
Because, I don't know. I never spent any time on those campuses in my college days, but that was always the word. I mean, I had friends that went to Arizona. I had friends that went to Arizona State. I have friends that went to GCU. A lot of friends that went to GCU, Grand Canyon University.
Yeah, I will. I have a friend from my church back home that went to GCU. I will tell a story. I've never told this story publicly. When I was there, I was swiping through Tinder while during my downtime.
I already love where this is headed.
It's nice out there.
He said it's nice. So that's the end of the story? It's nice out there?
I've just never told people that I swipe through Tinder on work trips. That's the only time I've ever done it, by the way.
I mean, Is there any shame in that?
I'm hoping not.
I don't think so. I'm not shaming you.
Okay, good.
I never had a dating app, but believe me, all my friends did. And,
You've never
you're
had
in there.
You've never had a dating app?
No, man. I was never about that.
Really? Okay, fair. But even if you're not about that, there's some people that are not about that but are still on dating apps.
Oh yeah, like it was an entertainment value type of thing for some of my buddies.
Okay.
They weren't really like seriously into it. They're just
Well, of
like,
course.
yeah, let's see what type of entertainment this can provide. It was more like, who am I going to recognize on this app? Who do I know that is going to pop up on my Tinder feed?
So the funny part about that
reconnaissance.
is the funny part about that is that like when I was in when I was in Stillwater, you would go to, because more people at Oklahoma State work out at the gym on campus than do at Oklahoma. That's part of the culture that I've come to realize. You would go into the gym at Oklahoma State and you'd see everybody that you just saw on Tinder. You're like, oh, this is fun.
Oh, man. Big Rich in OKC says, the Nard Dog effect. Are you talking about laziness, or what are we talking about there? Tattoo Baker asked, Tyler get fired over a recruit interview we missed on? Sorry, I got a phone if you answered this already. No, Tattoo Baker. Tyler's just doing 3 to 6 now. So he has passed his duties here on Locked In to Grayson, and he is only doing 3 hours of radio now, which I'm glad for his sake that he only has to do 3 hours of radio. 4 is a ton. 3 feels like a lot some days. Most days, I would say. 4, my goodness. When I have to do 4 hours of radio, I'm dragging myself to the finish line. Brad B. in Weatherford asks, how do these guys have agents? When I played baseball at OU from 2005 to 07, we weren't allowed to have agents. If we did, we lost our amateur status. Well, that was the pre-NIL era.
And amateur is a moot point now.
Yeah, there really isn't amateurism in collegiate athletics anymore. Everybody got an agent. I don't know if that's the way on the baseball side of things. I mean, there's obviously not as much money in baseball, but with as much money as there is in football, everybody's trying to get a slice of the pie, and everybody's got an agent. A listener in Colorado says, the handler. Used to be the Hamburglar bag of cash. Now it's more sophisticated, recruiting with a damn sleazy agent involved. Always been uncles and family. Now it's evolved. Doug and Norman chimed in. Oh, here we go. This is actually super insightful. This is not sports related. It really is. But I'm going to read it from Doug because Doug has lived basically everywhere.
Really?
You get Doug talking about his life, you kind of realize he has lived all over the place. He said, as a retired career firefighter, my second career, people elsewhere don't understand the Santa Ana winds coupled with the mountainous topography of Southern California. I worked for Los Angeles County Fire Department in 1971, and my first wildfire went from the Ventura Freeway, Highway 101, to the beach in Malibu in 4 hours. That's 22 miles, burning everything in its path, and that was without today's amenities of cell phones, the internet, and other social media to provide any warning. You cannot fight any fire when the hot Santa Ana winds are blowing.
Wow.
Ugh.
My question to that is, though, is there anything that those people can do to prevent the fires from even starting? Because I feel like we go through this every other year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be my question.
I know some fires are started by accident.
Right.
Some fires start by organic means, but forest fires, wildfires in general, they're just part and parcel of the way of life out there in the West. And we know we got plenty of listeners out there in California that tune in on a daily basis. Hopefully all of you guys are staying safe amidst a scary situation out there near Los Angeles. So keeping you guys in our thoughts and in our prayers, obviously. We're overdue for an opening timeout. Let's take one here on Locked In. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton talking OU football and recruiting and Tinder with you here.
It was going to come up at some point.
On these very airwaves. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay here on the home of Sooner fans, the Ref Sports Radio Network.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the umps because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
featuring Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, Utah, and Arkansas, plus 7 other of the nation's top teams. This event cannot be missed, and tickets are on sale now. Visit SproutsCollegiateQuad.com to experience all the gymnastics action.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
Hey, it's Mike Steely here for Cavens Group. Has it ever happened to you? You get home from the weekend, you arrive back at work on Monday, and your office is full of water. Not good. Now we're in that time of the year where pipes or sprinkler lines will freeze, and this can lead to a ton of damage to your home or business. Plus, if it's not cleaned up properly, that can lead to even more costly repairs in the future. Call Cavens Group today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov, 1-800-845-8476.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Somewhere there's a river rushing through the woods while someone rushes through their day. There's a mountain looking up at the sky while someone looks down at their phone. A trail waiting to be walked while someone waits for a latte. This world is full of somewheres waiting for someone just like you. So go see yours at 154 national forests and 20 grasslands. And to learn more, visit nationalforest.org. The National Forest Foundation. See your somewhere.
When you struggle with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, you get used to not feeling 100%. I thought that was how it had to be. Until I discovered the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. They told me about new medications that weren't around back when I was diagnosed. They helped me find a specialist who gave me a new treatment plan. I'm feeling better than I ever thought I could. Don't settle for not feeling your best. Take action today to take care of yourself. Spill your guts. Learn more at spillyourguts.org.
It's locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton with you. Congrats to Norman North quarterback Owen Eshelman, who just announced on social media that he has flipped his commitment from South Dakota State to Washington State.
Oh, really?
Not terribly shocking, given that former South Dakota State head coach Jimmy Rogers took the job at Wazoo last week. So he is bringing several of his commits along with him. Owen Eshelman being one of them. So, he is headed up to the Palouse as a brand new addition to Washington State's 2025 class. So congrats to him. Really talented quarterback that I've gotten the chance to watch on several occasions over the last couple of years. Obviously has a fine wide receiver target in 2026, blue chipper Mason James. There is talent aplenty up there at Norman North High School. And Owen Eshelman is the latest, can you call it P4? Is Washington State P4? Are they G5? Are they neither? Regardless, he's going to be playing college football at the Division I FBS level at Washington State. So there's that. Locked In is brought to you today and every day by the fine folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. They sell Buicks and GMCs, which are some of the best trucks and SUVs on the road. Their low-pressure environment creates an enjoyable experience for everyone with a sales staff who's knowledgeable and eager to assist you before and after the buying process. All that and incredible pricing as well. So make the trip out to El Reno to get in touch with the folks at Dorsey Jones. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, where many of you have been chiming in throughout the show. Doug sent us another text. Always good to hear from Doug. He can rock the boat at times, but he also, as a man who has lived a lot of life and lived a lot of different places, can share some very cool insights at times. And today is one of those times. He said, to answer Grayson's question on how wildfires start, they start in a myriad of ways, sometimes even on purpose. But when the hot Santa Ana winds blow, it's usually a downed power line that arcs into the tinder dry brush. It could be someone's backyard.
Just from all the other texts, and appreciate that, Doug, I feel like there's two things you got to do. Number one, we got to have a better foundation for these power lines. I mean, you hear about down power lines all the time, and I don't know how feasible that solution is. I'm just spitballing right now.
Jim in Arlington, he knows his Smokey Bear. He said, Parker, only you can prevent wildfires, as we always hear on KREF PSAs. Yep, that's why we run them, folks.
I mean, also, and I know we're getting into a little bit of policy here, and I love forestation, and, you know, I'm not an environmentalist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love jungle. Like, I love preserving nature and all that. You gotta cut down some of these forests, do you not? I feel like that's like the catalyst to a lot of this. Again, my degree's in sports media, not this. So I'm just talking off the dome.
What's the character in the Lorax that cut down all the trees?
The
Onceler?
The Onceler, yes.
Grayson's the Onceler, everyone.
Wow.
Grayson wants to cut down all the trees.
They
can't burn if they've gotten cut down.
Did I not just preface that by saying I like forests and trees?
I like trees, but cut them all down. All right. Sorry, we'll shift gears and get back into football here because we are not locked in on policy on this hour of radio programming. We are locked in on OU football and recruiting. Obviously, top of mind right now for folks that follow OU football and follow OU recruiting are the two outstanding portal targets, Jeff Roberson, who visited yesterday, and Owen Wafel, who visited last Friday. No decision from either of those two yet, but Roberson, obviously the standout linebacker from Oklahoma State with 1 year of eligibility left. Wafel, former blue-chip defensive tackle who just took a red shirt as a true freshman at Michigan, so he has all 4 years of eligibility remaining. We've discussed those two guys in past days, their respective situations. OU battling Arizona and Minnesota for Roberson. They are battling Penn State and Rutgers for Wafel. And if the Sooners can land those two guys, Grayson, you would have to assume at that point that Oklahoma is done in the portal, at least for the winter cycle. And to this, I say praise the Lord.
Absolutely. And if you want to sum up the 2024 season in something, you could say that it was the absence of being able to string together good news. There weren't consecutive good things that happened. And I think the fact that you were able to land Arbuckle and you were able to land Mateer subsequently, and let's be honest, the portal cycle has been pretty good in terms of what you have gotten to come in. We've gotten a lot of players that you really liked. You were able to get 4 wide receivers. And if you're able to land these last 2, this would be a successful last couple of months in terms of rebuilding this thing. So I agree with you. I think you say hallelujah, praise Jesus, and then we wait for the spring cycle when the next wave of chaos is going to happen. But otherwise, yeah, I think you're in a really good spot now if you're Oklahoma, if you're able to land these last two.
Also, top of mind for OU football fans, in addition to what the Sooners are going to do here to close out the portal cycle, is, of course, who the next defensive coordinator is going to be at the University of Oklahoma. And as we've discussed on this program and as I have discussed elsewhere, the Sooners are in the market for a big name. Whether they can land the big fish or not, that's a different conversation, but they're big game hunting right now for a defensive coordinator. And Santa John, on that note, on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, asks, with BV deep sea fishing for a big-time DC, what do you say about him setting up the program for his resignation due to personal issues? It's difficult for me to believe he would allow another DC to install his system following BV spending 3 years to implement his defense. And, okay, look, first off, I think we're all aware of what Brent Venables is dealing with off the football field. His wife has been battling cancer. He announced, I believe, last March that she was in remission, and then within a couple of months, the cancer was back. So that has been an ongoing struggle for Venables and his family. And I think that, if nothing else, I understand that he's the one that's going to be held ultimately responsible for OU's struggles on the football field in 2024 and throughout his tenure at head coach, as head coach, I should say, at Oklahoma. But I will say this. If Brent Venables is worthy of respect and admiration for nothing else, he is certainly worthy of respect and admiration for being able to maintain the duties of a Power 4 head football coach at a blue blood program like Oklahoma while he is undergoing such travail personally. That's not an easy thing to have to deal with. I know it has not been easy on him. I know it has not been easy on his family. And quite frankly, Grayson, that's the type of workload, that's the type of burden that would crush the average human being.
Duh. I mean, jeez. And, and that's why we hate talking about Venables' job security on these shows, because it's especially after the Alabama game. And there wasn't much for me to know about personally about Brent Venables until after that Alabama game, and I heard the story about the Taco Bell and the $94 that they spent there. Like, that just gave me a whole new insight into Brent Venables as a person. It is really, really hard, and I don't usually struggle with this. It is hard to separate the person from the coach here, because if you just go by the wins and losses, you see 6-7, a 10-win season, and then 6-7. By the way, no bowl wins in a 3-year tenure. And you think, oh, this isn't going to fly at Oklahoma. He should be up out of here. But then you juxtapose that to he got this team up and prepared for Alabama when the season had slipped away. And then you get these stories. And then you get how he's battling, with his wife with the cancer and all this. And it just makes this whole situation just really murky and uncomfortable sometimes. If he can get through all that and then put together a successful 2025, there's not many people in college football you've got more respect for.
No, and at that point, he will fulfill the prophecy originally put into the ether by Howard Schnellenberger. There will be books written and movies made at that point. If amidst all of this turmoil, Brent Venables can create a winner.
That's a 30 for 30.
Oh, yeah, 100%. To go back to your original question, Santa John, I have not gotten the sense from anyone, and I know, you're not the first person to bring this question up as to whether Brent Venables was just going to resign at some point, if that was the inevitable outcome of all of this. I have not gotten the sense from anyone that is a consideration right now in Venables' mind. Now, I don't live within his head, right? No one knows what's going on in the mind of Brent Venables except for Brent Venables. So perhaps it's something he's thought about, but from everything I've been able to gather, it has not been a conversation at any point that he has had with anyone. It's not something that has been conspicuously on the radar for Venables as he navigates the challenges of adapting a football program to the NIL era, a new conference setting in the SEC, Oh, and also helping his wife battle a persistent form of cancer on the side. So I do not think, Santa John, that Brent Venables is setting up anything in the event that he decides to resign. I think what he's doing is he's trying to surround himself with the right people, and he's trying to put the right leaders in place at Oklahoma such that his vision for what this program is and will be is executed, and that his vision of what this program can become in this new era of college football and in this new conference is ultimately fulfilled. And I'll give you a great example. I talked to Oklahoma quarterback signee Jet New last night. Posted a great number of details from our conversation at OUinsider.com. Jet was very gracious with his time, filled me in on his official visit, which he took on Monday. For those of you unfamiliar with Jet's story, he committed and signed with Oklahoma sight unseen last month. He was pledged to Oklahoma State for the longest time, September all the way up until the beginning of December. He had a relationship with Ben Arbuckle going back to Arbuckle's time at Washington State. Arbuckle called him the day before signing day and said, come with me to Oklahoma. And Jet said, all right, I'm doing it. He had never been to campus, had no frame of reference for what any of the program's structures and direction and leadership entailed. But he trusted Ben Arbuckle. He talked to Brent Venables. He developed a trust with Brent Venables, and he decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull the trigger. I've never been there before. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be a Sooner. Signed with the program less than 24 hours later, finally got to take his official visit this past Monday. And for the very first time, he got to go face-to-face with Brent Venables. And I'll read you exactly what Jet told me about his conversation with Venables. He said, we talked to him for like an hour and a half. It was a great talk. I think the one word I can use is he's ambitious. He cares about his players, and he's not one of those coaches where you're just another one. He takes the time to get to know you, wants to spend more time with you and get to know you better. The overall main message was it's his turn to carry the baton and kind of lead me to where I need to be in my football career. And then another thing was he gave me a circle chip that says I'm all in. And he said that once he gives me this chip, I have to agree to be all in. And I'm all in now. And he says he's going to give 100%, and so I need to give 100% as well. End quote. So, again, Santa John, to close the loop, to tie the bow on your question, that does not sound like an individual that has any plans of stepping down as Oklahoma's head football coach anytime soon. Despite what he and his family are going through personally, at least from what he is relaying to people within his own program, he is 100% all in with Oklahoma and the vision that he and the other leadership figures within that building have for what this program can be in the days ahead, in the years ahead in the SEC. All right, let's hit a timeout. We will come back. We will wrap up with one final segment of Locked In on the other side. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here with you, talking OU football and recruiting, and inviting you to chime in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line 405-651-3439. Stay here. Back in a moment.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
And double down to win your commemorative coin during any Thunder game.
So start off 2025 right.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
It's football time in Oklahoma, and it's the perfect time to build your dream home with K&B Homes. Whether you're in the OKC Metro or beyond, they offer flat fee pricing with no hidden surprises. Bring them your game plan or choose one from the K&B playbook. They will bring your dream home to life with custom woodwork and your personal touches. Make the winning call today with K&B Homes. Call them today at 808-9005 or visit kmbhomesllc.com to kick off your project.
When you're sick, you need to be seen by a health professional today, not next week. Norman Regional Urgent Care is here for you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open 7 days a week at Porter Health Village in Norman and Monday through Friday in Westmore and Goldsby. No appointment needed, just walk right in. Whether it's a sudden illness or a minor injury, Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
There's strength in family and there's strength in partnership. At Armstrong Bank, we believe in building financial stability and enduring relationships. As a family-owned community bank since 1909, we'll always be here to support you because we know that true strength is in our communities. Armstrong Bank. Strength runs in our family. Visit armstrong.bank. Member FDIC.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you tired of overpaying for insurance? Make the switch today and put more money back in your pocket. Right Way Insurance offers unbeatable rates and exclusive discounts. Don't settle for high premiums. Contact Right Way Insurance at 405-607-6014 and start saving on the coverage you need. Affordable protection is just a phone call away with Right Way Insurance. That's Right Way Insurance, your trusted partner at 405-607-6014.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Some very climactic bump music to lead into our final segment of Locked In here on this Wednesday. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. This hour, of course, brought to you by the great folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. And the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is available to all of you listening at 405-651-3439. There's going to be some names that you don't expect that are going to surprise you because we're digging deeper than we ever have before. This was the statement made yesterday by Chicago Bears GM Ryan Poles on the team's head coaching search. All right, Grayson Singleton, who's the next head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Look.
Mike Gundy?
I think the NFL ship has sailed on Mike Gundy. Look, if it's me, Ben Johnson is...
Yeah, it's a guy you hire.
Is candidate number one. You need somebody to work with your second-year quarterback who, quite frankly, got beat up this year, but still performed better than I think a lot of people realize. Their whole culture has been such a defensive one that they, for some reason, just don't understand offense. They're the only franchise in the league that has never had a 4,000-yard passer until this year.
So they're the Georgia of the NFL, minus all the titles.
Yes. And they need some understanding of offensive culture. So, I mean, I'd go get Ben Johnson. If I can't go get Ben Johnson, I'd throw the bag at Mike Vrabel. That's where I'd go. All these I saw Cowherd was talking about this yesterday. All these names that they're interviewing, Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, why? I mean, they're the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals, why? There's two, Ben Johnson and there's Mike Vrabel. If you strike out on both of them,
Lincoln Riley.
Honestly, that wouldn't be the worst thing. All right, I'll throw you another one too, since we're talking about pretty boy coaches. Cliff Kingsbury. Try to go get Cliff Kingsbury.
Hey, that's who Caleb Williams would hire.
Yeah, and now Cliff, I don't think is interested in being a head coach again. His personality doesn't strike me as that of a head coach. I think offensive coordinator suits him.
I agree
perfectly.
Just like Muleshoe.
Yeah, honestly.
Allegedly, per Tom Pelissero, fine national reporter for ESPN.
NFL Network,
sorry. He was at ESPN, though, right?
I think.
Did I just lose track of that move?
At one point, maybe?
Yeah. Multiple NFL teams have inquired about whether legendary coach Bill Belichick would reconsider his move to college football, including the Raiders, whose new minority owner, Tom Brady, spoke recently with his old coach, per league sources.
I saw that.
What if Bill Belichick was the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels for only slightly longer than he was head coach of the New York Jets? How hilarious would that be? It's the most ballyhooed college head coaching hire of the decade, and then boom, within a matter of weeks, he's right back to the NFL.
See, and here's the thing. Sooner James, I see you on the text line. That crossed my mind too. We'll get to that in a second. It makes a lot. It was always in the cards if he got the right NFL call that he would jettison North Carolina for the NFL. It's always going to be in the cards. I don't care what he said at the press conference, that he said, I didn't come here to leave. If the right NFL team gives him a call to put him in the right situation, he would go. He absolutely would go. Because the one thing that he hasn't done in the NFL yet, Parker? He is second on the all-time wins list as a coach. Mm-hmm. And he wants Don Shula's record.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner James in Wisconsin on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Sark to the Bears. When do we start talking about Steve Sarkisian as an NFL head coach?
That's what OU fans want. OU fans want that dude the heck off the 40 acres because he's done a phenomenal job. And that is really what is exacerbating the impatience with Brent Venables right now and everything that's going on at Oklahoma. Like, it's one thing if you're floundering a little bit as you transition to the SEC. What makes it infinitely more difficult to swallow for the average Oklahoma fan is that this is all happening at the same time that Texas is emerging as one of the best programs in the country.
Back-to-back CFP semifinals.
Correct. Back-to-back CFP semifinal appearances. This is not a fluke. This is not a one-off anymore. No, Texas is objectively headed on an upward trajectory, and they have the right guy at the helm in Steve Sarkisian. Going back to our conversation from last segment regarding Brent Venables and the balance that there is to be struck between his role as a head coach and everything that his wife is going through with her cancer battle. Mark in Marlowe says, Coach V has 5 years. He's not a quitter. If you knew him, you would know this. Joe C. will give him 5 years so everyone else's opinions don't matter. Talk makes for great content. There was another text that I wanted to read. And for the life of me, I can't remember who it came from. Oh, Glenn from Nashville. Here you go. Really good text from Glenn in Nashville, who said, you can read this personal anecdote or not. I'm fine either way. Well, I'm going to read it, Glenn. Thanks for sending it in. He said, my wife fought cancer early in my career. When she was ill, I was bound and determined to perform well at my job. I did not want to be that person that people felt sorry for and excused poor performance at work because of outside circumstances, as tragic as they were. Venables seems very much like a man who will never use his wife's illness as an excuse, and he's going to give it his all the entire time he's the head coach, for what that's worth. What I'm saying is, I think Venables is going to be proud in his work product and give it his all, no matter the circumstances. Thanks for sharing, Glenn. It's a very healthy dose of perspective there, especially from someone that has been through a similar circumstance. Moving on here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 5-star Gunny simply says, have a great day, Parker and Grayson. Hey, you too, Gunny.
Love you, buddy.
420's coming soon.
I was just about to say that.
WF Sooner. What does WF stand for, I wonder? regardless, WF Sooner says, "Hey, Parker, who all committed to OU will be playing in the game this weekend?" Good question. And this is my last show of the week. I have about 5 minutes of radio left for the remainder of this week because tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, I'm going to be down in San Antonio at the Navy All-American Bowl, which is an excellent showcase, one I look forward to every year. The All-American Combine the day before the game is also a really good opportunity to see some of the top underclassmen, rising sophomores and juniors across the country. But the two Oklahoma signees that are going to be participating in this game, and there are only two of them, Ryan Foje, offensive tackle from the Houston area, 4-star prospect in the 2025 class, been committed to Oklahoma, well, signed with Oklahoma, but committed in February of last year. And then Tristan Haynes, who committed in May, cornerback from just up the road, Midwest City, Oklahoma, went to Carl Albert High, 4-star prospect in the 2025 class as well. He and Foje will be representing the Sooners in San Antonio. There are several other targets in the 2026 class that will be participating in the game. Several other players that Oklahoma is interested in that I'm going to have an eye on, guys like Valdine Sone, Felix Ojo. And there will also be some blasts from the past, guys that weren't quite Sooners but almost were. Remember Christian Jones? Remember Andrew Babalola this past year? They're also going to be participating in the game. I'll be eager to catch up with those two as well. Should be an interesting post-mortem conversation on just how close Oklahoma came to landing those two. So there's your primer, WF Sooner. Ryan Foje, Tristan Haynes representing Oklahoma in San Antonio this weekend at the Navy All-American Bowl. Jimmy and Duncan asks, what is Texas's overall ranking in the transfer portal? That I don't know. I would have to check in on that. I do know that because of Jaren Kiave-Sagapolutele's decommitment, or I shouldn't say.
Say what now?
No, did that name catch you off guard? Jaren Kiave-Sagapolutele?
That was impressive.
Well, it's my job.
How many times did you rehearse that?
That was spur of the moment right there. 5-star quarterback, left-handed quarterback in the 2025 class, signed with Oregon and went through bowl practices with the team and then decided last week, you know what, this isn't for me, screw it, I'm transferring. And immediately transferred to Cal, which is where he was initially committed before flipping to Oregon on signing day. So his flirtation / marriage to Oregon lasted all of about 3 weeks, but he is going to be a Cal Golden Bear. With Oregon's loss of Sagapolutele, Texas has the number 1 recruiting class in the 2025 cycle. So I don't know where they fall in the portal.
I'll give you the answer where they fall in the portal.
Okay.
14th in the SEC, according to 24/7 Sports. Now, keep in mind, they're still playing.
Yeah, that is true, and only 4 commits, it looks like. 4 commits in the portal for Texas. I don't put a whole lot of stock in the transfer portal rankings, to be quite honest with you, and I think Texas illustrates this point I'm about to make. It's all dependent on what you need and how many needs you have. Programs with a ton of needs and a lot of money to spend to fill those needs, i.e. Texas Tech, they're going to put together a really strong portal class. But when you have strong retention and you are a championship caliber program, as Texas is right now, there are going to be a lot less gaps to fill. And so you're not going to rank very highly in the portal hierarchy, and that's fine. And that's not something that your fan base is going to be turned off by. Not somebody that anybody that's evaluating Texas football moving into 2025 is going to be turned off by. But what you're much more concerned with, if you're a Texas fan, is what is the program doing to build for the future, and that's where you love to see that your program has the number 1 recruiting class in the nation in 2025. Chris from Knoxville says, how about Dabo getting another portal player? That's right. Dabo, is that 3 portal commits this cycle for Dabo and Clemson?
Whoa.
They landed Jeremiah Alexander earlier today.
Yeah.
Yes, edge rusher who had been rumored as a potential target for Oklahoma, but they had their sights set on Marvin Jones and then Maurice Westmoreland if that had fallen through. By the way, Maurice Westmoreland did sign with Tulane just moments ago.
Really?
So, which is interesting because
Go ahead.
No.
I was going to ask you.
By all means, jump in.
I was going to ask you. The corner that OU was going after from Washington, I believe.
Washington. Thaddeus Dixon.
Dixon, yes.
Thaddeus Dixon.
Any update on there?
I believe he's going back to Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Regardless, he dropped a top 5.
He did drop a top 5 yesterday.
And OU didn't. OU was not included in that top 5. So I know OU had interest in Thaddeus Dixon. It appears that interest was not reciprocated. One more text. Roger in L.A. says on Venables, he needs to get it done this season. No excuses. Do not care how tough the schedule is. He'll have his best roster with a schedule full of above average to mediocre teams on it. BV should win 9 to 10 games and be in the CFP conversation. We need a major spark. And, yeah, the excuses have dried up for Brent Venables and this staff heading into 2025. There's a lot at stake, and they have made roster acquisitions to prepare for what will be a pivotal campaign, most notably the addition of John Mateer at quarterback. So we have another 8 months to talk about all of that and preview it from every angle, which we're going to do, and it's what we do every single day on these here airwaves on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. That's all for Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I'm Parker Thune. Thanks for coming along for the ride with us for the past hour. Coming up next, it's Teddy and Tyler on The Rush. Keep it here.
Football, you love it, we love it. You live it, we live it. You need it, we got it. Nobody covers college football better. The Rush, right here on the Ref Sports Radio Network.